into all the phones, all the tablets, and especially electric cars.
And we're looking at a video now. Jamie, what is this? The mines?
This is his video. So I think so.
This is so crazy to see.
This is the bottom of the supply chain of your iPhone, of your Tesla, of your Samsung. I mean, I'm just naming those companies.
Right.
It's all of them, right? All of them.
Whoa. You serious? Oh, that's just disturbing, man. So this is how the batteries are made for our technology used today? Wow. Hello friends, welcome once again to Look and Live. You here with Pastor James Devallon. Into this video, we're gonna travel over to Joe Rogan podcast. This is a 14 minutes video. The disturbing reality of cobalt mining for rechargeable batteries. Friends, I didn't know. I just didn't know. This is shocking. You'll see what I mean in a moment now. So without further ado, let's now get into the heart of the message.
The Joe Rogan Experience.
Please detail the journey that you went on to write this book and why it's of concern to you.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I started traveling to the Congo 5 years ago. I've been doing research on slavery and child labor for about 20 years, traveling all around the world, documenting slaves and child laborers, human trafficking. And this came across my radar maybe 7 years ago. People started talking in the field about cobalt. Cobalt's in the batteries. It's in the Congo. The conditions are horrible. And I had no idea. I'd never heard of this. So I started planning to take trips to get down there. And I took my first trip back in 2018. My plan was I thought I would try to lay the groundwork to do some academic research. And the things I saw there were so appalling and heart-wrenching and urgent that I changed my approach. I thought, people need to know about this. I need to write a book. And so I started planning more trips, and I just kept going back. And the reason this is important, Joe, and we can dig into this in more depth, throughout the whole history of slavery, I mean, I'm going back centuries. Never in human history has there been more suffering that generated more profit and was linked to the lives of more people around the world, ever in history, than what's happening in the Congo right now. And the reason I say that is this. The cobalt that's being mined in the Congo is in every single lithium-ion rechargeable battery manufactured in the world today. Every smartphone, every tablet, every laptop, and crucially, every electric vehicle.
Wow. I had no idea. Wow. Could it be that we are part of a big slave infrastructure or institution here in the process of owning one of those? That is disturbing. That is disturbing. I wonder what the alternative will be.
So you and I, we can't function on a day-to-day basis without cobalt, and 3/4 of the supply is coming out of the Congo. And it's being mined in appalling, heart-wrenching, dangerous conditions. And so that's why people need to know, because by and large, the world doesn't know what's happening in the Congo.
It's something that people sort of know peripherally, that, you know, that they call them conflict minerals, and, you know, they know that they're coming from an area of the world that's very poor, but I don't think people are aware of how horrible it is. There have been some documentaries that have been done on it, and they're all terrifying.
Yeah, so conflict minerals was phase one, and that's actually not cobalt.
What does it refer to? Conflict minerals?
So conflict minerals, also called the 3TG minerals, are tin, tungsten, tantalum, and gold. And those are in the eastern Congo. And that catastrophe started around the year 2000, late 1990s, 2000, shortly after the Rwandan genocide. The militias moved in, and the eastern Congo is sitting on some of the largest reserves in the world of those 3TG minerals, especially tantalum. And those are all used in microprocessors. And you can think back to, around the year 2000, mobile phones first started coming out and gaining traction. I still remember my little StarTAC flip phone that I had from Motorola. You remember that?
Sure.
And all that supply was coming out of Eastern Congo. Militias and warlords were forcing the local population at gunpoint, machete point, to dig this stuff out, and it was flowing up into the formal supply chain, into mostly those first-generation cell phones. And that became known as conflict minerals. Cobalt started later. Cobalt really took off about 10, 12 years ago. And it's in another part of the country, in the mining provinces in the southeast of the Congo. And cobalt took off because it was started to be used in lithium-ion batteries to maximize their charge and stability. And it just so happens that the Congo, just as it was sitting on more than half the world's reserves of coltan and, of course, a lot of gold and diamonds and other things, is sitting on more cobalt than the rest of the planet combined.
Wow. This is a very good piece of information here. I had no idea, boy. Like they say, knowledge is power. So what are we going to do from this point forward?
And it's in a small little patch of the Congo, southeastern corner, a part that used to be called Katanga. And before anybody knew what was happening, Chinese government, Chinese mining companies took control of almost all the big mines. And the local population has been displaced, is under duress, and they dig in absolutely subhuman, gut-wrenching conditions for $1 a day, feeding cobalt up the supply chain into all the phones, all the tablets, and especially electric cars.
Whoa. What are we doing here?
And we're looking at a video now. Jamie, what is this? The mines?
This is video. So I think so.
This is so crazy to see.
This is the bottom of the supply chain of your iPhone, of your Tesla, of your Samsung. I mean, I'm just naming those companies.
Right.
It's all of them, right? All of them. We're not just picking on them. And here's what you need to know, Joe, about this video.
Oh, man. This is disturbing. They have to come up with something different. This is not okay. It's just not okay.
I was the first outsider to get into this mine. And that's why it's just a really short video that I was able to take. This is an industrial cobalt mine where there's not supposed to be one artisanal miner. Now, that's the term used for people who are just digging by hand as opposed to tractors and excavators. There's not supposed to be one here. That's what the story is told at the top of the chain.
Look at that. Cheap labor. That's what they call it today. Or should we call it slavery?
This mine, and I can name it, it's called Shabara. There's not supposed to be one artisanal miner here, according to the consumer-facing tech companies and EV companies buying this cobalt. Lo and behold, I walk into this place, and this is what I see. There's more than 15,000 human beings crammed into that pit, digging by hand. And if you have sound, you hear the mallets, you hear the shouting, you hear the grunts. It's a massive humanity. You might expect to see a scene like this.
So there's a term that gets used, clean cobalt.
There's no clean cobalt.
It's not real.
No. It's all marketing. It's all PR. It's a fiction. Just like that place, there's not supposed to be any artisanal mining there. It's all done industrially. That's the story told at the top of the chain.
I mean, isn't there any other ways of getting cobalt for our devices that does not include this level of slavery type of work? I mean, this is human suffering at its finest. This is how we get to have what we want as far as the technology, rechargeable batteries is concerned, on the back of these individuals who are overworking and underpaid. I'm wondering, is there any other way of them doing that apart from this? I mean, the conversation will show.
And I mean the marketing teams at big tech and EV companies assume, well, who's going to go down there and actually walk into the place and grab a video that shows, no, it's actually all raw human force that is clanking that cobalt out of the ground. So there's no clean cobalt. There's not a single company on planet Earth that makes a device that has a rechargeable battery in it that can reliably and justifiably claim that their cobalt isn't coming from sources like that.
Oh, well, that answers my question. Wow.
And that's the truth that needs to get out there. That's the truth people need to understand. Because this is a story that goes back generations. There's these fictions told at the top of the chain about what conditions are like at the bottom.
You know, talking about stuff like this, some companies are going to be really upset with you. They rely on this type of labor to make money. I mean, Jamie got to be careful. Even just going out and exposing this stuff. It could cost you.
And truth seekers have to go find that truth and enlighten civilization so that people get agitated about it and want to do something about it. So there's no clean cobalt. Let's just make that totally abundantly clear. And anyone that claims otherwise is either peddling in falsehoods or is recklessly ignorant of the truth.
Are there any industrialized cobalt mines that use machinery and don't use slavery and don't use child labor and don't use the...
Yeah, that was my question too, but it doesn't look like there is anything.
These people that live in unimaginable poverty.
I've never seen one.
Wow.
And I've been to almost all the major industrial cobalt mines. Here's why I say that. Number one, they all or almost all will have scenes like that on them. Thousands of individuals clanking away for $1 or $2 a day. Okay? They don't have safety equipment. All that stuff, that cobalt's toxic to breathe. They're breathing it in all day.
No masks.
No
filtration
no
systems.
gloves, half those guys are in flip-flops. All right? So almost all the industrial mines will have scenes like that. So that's number one. They'll say there are no artisanal miners there, no children there. And if you
Somebody's lying.
zoom in, you'll see that amongst that sea of humanity, there are thousands of kids, teenage boys in this case, because that requires a certain amount of force to clank away in that pit. Number two, there are hundreds of other artisanal mining sites scattered in the mining provinces outside of industrial mines. There are artisanal miners in the industrial mines, and then just on the other side of the fence, there'll be a sea of humanity digging there as well, because it's not like at the fence the ore body stops. There's copper, cobalt, other things outside as well. So there'll be hundreds of sites where there are hundreds of thousands of people across the mining provinces digging. All that production is sold right back to the industrial mining companies.
Uh-oh.
So it enters their supply chain as well. And then so they take what they extract with industrial equipment, artisanal miners inside the mine, artisanal miners.
It's disturbing. I'm wondering, has there been anybody else protesting and bringing light to this thing? If you guys know anything, let me know, because for as much of an issue this is, at least should be considered to be, It's been going on for well over 10 years now. Now we're hearing about this?
Including children, outside the mine. It all gets dumped together into the same batch of acids to process and then flows up the chain. And again, no one can reasonably claim that their cobalt, even if they say that industrial mine, totally clean, don't believe what Siddharth is saying, that's a made-up fake video. They can't demonstrate reliably that all the other cobalt being dug up by kids in thousands of sites across the mining provinces isn't also flowing into their supply chain.
Is there another source of cobalt in the world that's ethically supplied?
So last year, 2021 is the last year there's data, about 72%, almost 3/4 of the world's supply of cobalt came out of a small patch of the Congo. And then there's like 3% Russia, 3% Australia, 3% Morocco. There's everyone else is 3%. And I don't know what the conditions are there. I imagine in Australia, mining follows standards of dignity and decency and labor and sustainability and so on. But there's not enough cobalt outside of the Congo to meet demand. And demand projections are 400, 500, 600%.
But we have to remember, like, we are trying to go electric now. We want everything, at least. I don't want to say we. I don't want to include myself in this. The powers that be want electricity cars and so on, and just the reality of how is this going to be done, the level of work that is going to require, unimaginable suffering, the slave labor that it was going to take to even sustain this idea of a green planet or a Green New Deal or no more gas emission, this climate change movement, even to carry it out. A lot of people have to suffer. A lot of people have to go through this. And the poor have to suffer tremendously in order to benefit, to provide a means for supposedly us, or supposedly climate advocates, whatever. I mean, it's just like just the idea of that in itself. Imagine the whole entire world buying, every person buys an electric car. What do you think this field is going to look like?
Increase in cobalt demand in the next decade or two, primarily being driven by adoption of electric vehicles. Each battery pack in an EV requires up to 10 kilograms of refined cobalt. That's 1,000 times what's required for a smartphone.
Wow.
So huge demand as the world transitions from internal combustion engines to electric vehicles, which is a net good thing, except for the people in the Congo. So there's not enough other cobalt out there. Even if all the non-Congo cobalt was perfectly sourced, there's not enough other cobalt out there to meet demand.
These companies that we talked about that use all this stuff, whether it's electric vehicle company.
Now, another thing that we have to consider, while I am not for the slave labor, some of these families, that's just their bread and butter. It's like it's good to keep that in mind too, because they live in such poverty that being able to go and work at the, should I say, cobalt assembly line or factory, however you want to put it together, that's just their only way of surviving, being in their condition, at least for some of them at least. I mean, it's a toxic thing. Again, it's still a bad idea, but I'm thinking from, just being poor and knowing what are these people saying. It's good to hear from the people themselves. I would like to hear what they are saying about this whole thing. And the children really don't belong in that environment, because there's going to be a lot of health issues that will follow, because cobalt is not supposed to be breathed, no mask, nothing, So we have a lot of questions, and again, I have more questions than answers. I guess I'm just venting here.
Or cell phone manufacturers, obviously they're aware of this.
Yes, no question. They have to be.
Have they made any attempts to mitigate this in any way?
The truth, Joe, is no, not sufficient efforts. Most of what is done is PR statements, marketing. All these companies will say we have zero tolerance policies on child labor. We ensure standards of dignity and human rights for every member of our supply chain, down to the mining level. They'll all say this, down to the mining level. And they say it. And they may throw some money at the odd NGO or coalition or alliance that's meant to be working on these things. Nothing's actually happening on the ground. And that's what my book will demonstrate. You know, as I take the reader on the journey from place to place, mind to mind. There's this fiction that exists outside of the Congo of what companies are doing and what the conditions are like. And then there's the reality.
Yeah.
Underneath those layers of obfuscation, there's the reality. There's the truth on the ground.
Yeah.
And not one company, not one business alliance, not one entity up the chain is doing remotely enough to ensure that the dignity and human rights of the people of the Congo, not to mention the environment, because although mining companies are just polluting and clear-cutting forests to build and expand mines, they're not doing nearly enough to respect the people and earth of the Congo, while we outside enjoy our, renewable, gadget-driven lifestyles.
Wow. Gosh. Oh, where do we go from here? Where do we go from here? This man just turned my world upside down. That is crazy. So this is how it's happening, huh? So this is how we get our technologies and our batteries made. Let me know. Did you know about this? Is this new information for you? It is for me. This blew my mind. I'm flabbergasted. I don't know what to do. I don't even know if should I be owning this phone? Is it still a good idea to have one of those? I'm like, oh goodness. I feel like I'm partaking of that, even though I pay for having it, but knowing the nature and where it originated and under what conditions this stuff is brought about, it makes you wonder, like, man, should I even be owning a phone? I think much more than that is not going after the phones. I think having these discussions, talking about that is what's significant right now, and also bring light to it so that these companies could bank. I think they can do better if they want to. It's just that they can get away with it and they know nobody's paying attention. I think this being brought to light is going to bring about a positive change. And I think the work that Joe Rogan and Jimmy is doing with his book is definitely significant to bring about a change in the world. I think these people should be given jobs, but not under these conditions. And it's just not okay. Anyway, much more could be said about that, but I want to end it by saying this. This is Revelation, guys, and I want you to see something. Revelation speaking here, and he's speaking about Babylon. He's speaking about how Babylon owns everything. But when he's speaking about Babylon here, it's in a reference to the connection that the kings of the earth has with her, which when you hear the her here, this is talking about that the harlot, or you may refer to her as Antichrist, an apostate church. And he's talking about how the merchandise, gold and silver and precious stones and all these things, she owns them. And he went on to say that sheep, horses, chariots, and what else? Slaves, souls of men. I thought about that. I said, wait a minute. In the last book of the Bible, God speaks of slavery. We thought slavery was all done and finished. Think again. It still exists till this very day. Wow. Anyway, let me know. What did you learn from today's video? What do you think we should be doing, and how should we be addressing some of these issues? From my perspective, it's not okay, but I'm very limited now to what to do. Maybe I should get the book and read what he has to say. Share your thought and perspective with me. I will definitely appreciate that. Hello friends, did you enjoy today's video? I hope that it was clear and I hope it was a blessing to you. And if you have, make sure you like and subscribe to the page. Click the bell icon for more of my notification uploads, okay? There are links below where you can get in touch with us, links where you can support the channel, links to our merch, and also if you want to join the community page, join the Look and Live YouTube family. And if you have any question, any prayer requests as well, we welcome all of that in the discussion. Join also our Discord page, and there are a number of things there as well where we communicate with you on a daily basis about what's happening in the channel. By the way, if you happen to be interested in the study of the Word, we have a YouTube channel dedicated for that, the Look and Live Bible Studies YouTube channel. You can go and subscribe to that as well. And as always, remember to look unto Jesus and to live by faith. Have a good one. Bye.